Co-founder and CEO of the Concussion Legacy Foundation, Chris Nowinski, joins me now for more. Chris, thanks so much for coming on. Police sources tell ABC News that this suspect had a note in his pocket claiming he suffered from CTE. Police also say he had a documented mental health history and that he played high school football. What was your reaction when you heard about all of this?
Well, my heart goes out to the victims and their families. And when I read about it, I immediately thought of the fact that we've seen a lot of this with former football players. We think of Aaron Hernandez or Philip Adams or Javon Belcher, all NFL players in their 20s and 30s that were involved in murder suicides. All of them had CTE. So I understand why this conversation is happening. And it's something that we need to investigate further because it's becoming more and more of a public health issue because we've seen this over and over and over again.
Now, CTE can only be diagnosed through an autopsy after death, so we don't yet know if he did have it. Obviously, he didn't know either at the time. But what are the early symptoms of CTE, and how do you recognize and treat it?
Well, yeah, I think the question of whether or not he has CTE, we can look to a study we published in 2023 where we looked at the brains of 92 former football players who all died before 30. It's important for people to know that 31% of the ones who played through high school did have the disease. It's also important for people to know there are 15 at least other types of brain damage that are associated with traumatic brain injuries and repeated traumatic brain injuries that football players can receive. When they have these brain injuries, they can damage the frontal lobe, which is involved with aggression and judgment. You can see damage in the amygdala, which controls understanding threats. And so it's not a surprise as a neuroscientist that people who have frontal lobe damage and damage to their amygdala can act out like this and have behaviors like this. Philip Adams, who killed 6 strangers, notably had an atrophying, his frontal lobes were actually already atrophied at the age of 32. So it is an important scientific question. Of course, we also have to acknowledge this could just be idiopathic mental health issues unrelated to his football career, but we've seen enough of this that it does warrant investigation. I hope his brain is studied so we can understand what was happening.
What do you think people need to know about preventing CTE, not only in football, but all contact sports?
And understand that it's not just concussions that are causing CTE. What is causing concussions is repeated hard impacts to the head. And what correlates with having CTE as a football player is the number of years you play. And so my best advice as a former player at Harvard myself is that don't start playing tackle football while children are young. Don't let your kids play young because while their brain's developing, those hits to the head can change the trajectory of their brain development and change who they become. So we need to hit children in the head fewer times throughout all sports. And it's really a call to action that the sports industry needs to acknowledge.
All right, co-founder and CEO of the Concussion Legacy Foundation, Chris Nowinski. Chris, thank you.